Welcome to Concussion Talk Podcast and the first episode of 2019. Before getting into this podcast, I would like to remind everyone that they can check out my website at www.concussiontalk.com, where I have lots of blogs, more podcasts, and link to my ebook Detour. As well, they can please subscribe to my podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify. On episode 37 of Concussion Talk Podcast, I talked to Lauren Van Patten and Jesse Topley, who have created CESAPchats, a concussion peer support group. Okay, I'm talking to Lauren and Jesse, and I will get them to introduce themselves and talk about CESAP, what they're doing at Queens, and or were doing at Queens, I should say, and CESAP stories. So please go ahead, Jesse.
Hi there. Thanks for having us on. My name's Jesse Topley. I moved to Kingston about 7-8 years ago to go to Queens for kinesiology. Played football here for 3 years. Had a number of concussions throughout my 10-year career playing football. My last one being 2014, which ended my football career at Queens. Had a number of emotional issues, social issues, mental health issues that lingered on for years after my concussion, and I struggled with because of the struggles that I had with my concussion and how alone I felt and how isolated I felt from my peers. I felt like it was an important topic to share with others and to enlighten people about what's going on with people with concussion and post-concussion syndrome. So I actually started a concussion group called Beyond the Headache, which myself and another girl, Rachel Colarossi, shared our personal stories about concussions and the issues that we dealt with, like I said before, mental health issues, emotional issues, social issues, everything that stemmed from post-concussive syndrome. From there, we met a gentleman named Alan Champagne, who started a concussion group called CESAP. CESAP stands for Concussion Education, Safety, and Awareness Program. And what they focused more on was the education on what is a concussion, the basic anatomy of the brain, what is happening internally when a concussion happens, ways to recognize a concussion, ways to the whole return to play protocol, return to learn protocol. And then they actually had an on-field player modification aspect where they attempted to change the way players actually played the sport. So specifically football, they were trying to change the way that the player would tackle to involve less head contact. So we realized that our programs, where my program Beyond the Headache and their program CESAP, really complemented each other well with the areas that we focus on, where mine was more the social side of things, the emotional side of things, and theirs was more the educational side of things and the implementing of a more structured program in youth sports. So from there, I really wanted to focus more on the support side of things. So Alan continued with his research and with CESAP itself. And then I met Lauren, who started, and I'll let her talk more on this, who started a peer support group in Guelph. But so we met and we had similar goals and what we wanted to provide at first the Queens community, but then ended up being the Kingston community, of a support group that allowed people with post-concussion syndrome to come together and share their experiences and talk about what's going on in their life, and really have a support center and a support group and network that allowed them to be empowered in their situations. So I'll let Lauren talk more about her work at Guelph and more about CESAPchats.
Good, thanks. That was awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for having us on, Nick.
No.
My name is Lauren Van Patter. I'm a PhD candidate at Queen's University in the Department of Geography and Planning. And I have been recovering from multiple concussions between 2014 and 2016. It has affected a number of areas of my life, and I had to put my studies on hold for a year while I was recovering. So I went back to school to start my PhD.
Oh, sorry, Lauren. How did you get the concussions?
So the first one was sports, just a recreational ultimate frisbee league. And then the second one, about a year and a half later, I had a more serious one where I fell and hit my head on ice. And then I had a minor reconcussion a couple of months later, but it was enough to really cause a lot more serious symptoms.
Thanks. Okay, sorry. Good.
Yeah, I think in the earlier stages of my recovery, there was just so much uncertainty around when I would start feeling better, why I was experiencing what I was experiencing. And although I had a lot of support from friends and family and access to different healthcare providers, I really found that a turning point for me was connecting with a couple other people in the community who were going through similar experiences, and being able to share our stories and what was working for us, I think helped me understand what I was going through, and also feel, I guess, more connected and optimistic about the future of my recovery and that things would eventually get better. So I started just a small support group in Guelph, recruiting, just putting up posters in various rehabilitation healthcare provider offices, and then renting a room at the local library and getting a group of us together once a month to talk. And I found that really, really helpful. So when I moved to Kingston, I was hearing from, folks at various health services and through the community that there was really a need for that at Kingston as well. So I reached out and connected with Jesse. I heard about what CESAP had been doing, and we decided to try to have a similar sort of group start up in Kingston. It's been really great so far. We're just sort of getting going now with monthly meetings, and I think it's been really great for me to be able to connect with other people and hopefully provide that setting where others can come together and share their stories and experiences and different resources on dealing with persistent symptoms after concussions.
Of course. Thank you both for joining me, and this is great. So I'm just going to ask you about these peer support meetings. So I saw a poster online for January 28th. Was that your first peer support? CESAPchats? Was that your first peer support meeting?
Yeah, so we've been in the process of making sure that this is done as well as possible. So we actually started creating this whole support group about a year ago, actually probably a year ago, January.
Okay.
And we really wanted to start off quickly because we knew there was a need out there for this, but we knew we needed to take a step back and really evaluate how we approach this, because the last thing that we'd want to do is start building all these relationships with the people that would be coming to our support groups, and then all of a sudden Queen saying, oh, that you didn't go about this the right way, so then we wouldn't be able to continue anymore. So we talked to the right people, we jumped through the right hoops. And we made sure that we did it as well as possible so that we were secure in our position in the Kingston community.
Okay.
But yes, so the January 28th was our first session, which was just a couple weeks ago.
And how many? Were a lot of people showed up at the meeting, or did you get a lot of people show up?
Yeah, we had a few people for the first meeting, and had others reach out to us with interest. There was bad weather at the time, so I think.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, we've had a lot of interest and support, especially from various healthcare providers and service providers in the community, saying that there really is a need, and so I think as we continue to establish this as a place that's available monthly for people to come, and the word continues to spread, that that hopefully we'll be able to reach more people and have it continue to grow.
Okay, I was just going to ask that. So it is going to be monthly, you think? You're hoping?
Yeah.
We're hoping that it's the last Monday, correct there, Lauren?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the last Monday of every month. Now, just to add on to what Lauren was saying, with the interest that we've had people show, it is still a very difficult topic for a lot of people to talk about, and a lot of people don't want to admit that they are dealing with these problems. So it is often hard to draw out a crowd of people that are hesitant on joining in. But from the people that came last week, they found it incredibly helpful. And I mean, that was just the first session. So we're very excited to see where it goes from here. And to continue to encourage people to to come, even if they don't even chat or say anything at all, just to experience the level of comfort that there is in the environment that we provide, and just to experience kind of what we're all about and what we're trying to provide with the people that show up to our meetings.
Yeah, that's actually excellent. And speaking of the hesitancy of people to talk about things, what sort of subjects were talked about or were brought up? What topics were brought up? Of note, I mean, not only personal, obviously, but I mean, like, what were people saying were their biggest issues? Generally, what do you think the biggest issues for people were?
Well, I mean, I think just in general, from some of my previous experience with, being in these sorts of meetings, I think that often there are feelings of isolation, feelings that you might have good support from friends and family, but when people don't really know what you're going through, and especially the challenges of having an invisible disability, that is really difficult to explain. And since some of the challenges are so variable and intermittent, it's hard to make sense yourself of what you're going through sometimes and what your needs are. So just being able to hear from other people, I think, can be a huge step in learning about different coping strategies, about pacing, things that are hard to troubleshoot alone, and that not necessarily every healthcare provider is going to have tailored information for, because each concussion recovery experience is so different. But at least when you have the opportunity to share with different people who have been through a range of experiences, you might be able to get a better idea of what tools are out there, and just feeling like other people know what you're going through can help a lot with the feelings of sort of isolation and confusion that come with such a poorly understood, I think, injury.
Okay. And so you, as each of you, and again, not to get personal, but what would you claim as would you like to talk about at these meetings? What was your issue you're dealing with, do you think, that you'd like to talk to others about?
Lauren, you can go ahead first.
Sure. So I think for myself, I struggle with a lot of perceptual symptoms still, some vision issues and dizziness, and then a lot of, or still some cognitive difficulties in, organization and attention and memory. And for me, it's hard, I think, to be, as somebody working in academia and trying to work through my research, to also feel like, I'm sort of learning to use this new brain in these last few years.
Yeah.
And what does that look like for me to manage my own expectations and time and energy in a way where I can still feel like I'm being effective as a researcher, but also taking care of myself and my, my changing health needs and symptoms. So I feel like I've developed a lot of strategies that have worked really well for me, and I'm just incredibly grateful to have the opportunities that I do at the moment. But I still think it's helpful. It's sort of, even the better I feel, the more it's still important to check in with other people and remind myself that, I need to put my health first. And And I think, yeah, it's a lot about managing expectations about what you're able to accomplish, and staying optimistic even when you have setbacks or are going through a time of increased symptoms. And so being able to talk with other people about that, I find really valuable.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed for myself is that you mentioned that you found covering some mechanisms, but some ways to deal with the issues you're having. How long would you say that took you to get to that point where you felt comfortable enough with what you've designed for yourself to follow through in that and not get frustrated and not get really annoyed with yourself?
Well, I don't think I've perfected that. I think it's
No,
an
no.
ongoing task. But I really, when I started back at school last September, it was after 6 months of doing a lot of work in, meditation and mindfulness training and goal setting. And so I've sort of always said to myself since starting back that my priority is my health, and that in terms of managing stress, I'm just going to do what I can do, set realistic expectations. And as soon as I find myself getting stressed or overwhelmed, then I need to check in and step back. So I've tried my best to keep to that, but it is hard that the better I feel, the more I want to take on, and the higher the expectations I have for myself. But I think I try to check in with myself regularly about what my goals are, what I'm able to accomplish, the symptoms that I'm experiencing, and where I need to, reevaluate and readjust. So I think that's sort of an ongoing process that I keep having to
Right.
to take an active role in doing as I move through my program.
Right. And Jesse?
For myself, I'm very grateful for where the point that I'm at. I feel like my concussion was almost 4.5 years ago. And I struggled with the physical symptoms for quite a while, quite some years after it. The big thing for me was the loss of self-identity when I had to quit football, and the kind of removal from that lifestyle and the isolation, and really the mental health issues that I suffered with, the depression, the anxiety, and talking and sharing about that stuff, and trying to make people feel comfortable in their own skin, and realizing that, talking with Lauren, what I realized with concussions is that, I was an athlete who lost my self-identity as a football player. Lauren was an academic that lost her self-identity in the academia world, where she couldn't pursue what she wanted to because of her concussion, and I couldn't pursue what I wanted to because of my concussion. And that counts for, or attributes to, so many things in different people's lives, whether you're in the business world and that's who you are, and you can't pursue that because of your concussions, and the lack of understanding from other people who don't have or haven't had that experience with concussion, post-concussion syndromes. What I really try to use my experience with my mental health issues from my concussion is really trying to make people feel comfortable in this type of situation, because you can't ask someone to put themselves in a vulnerable situation or open up to a group of people without first making yourself feel, or making yourself vulnerable to them. So by sharing, the deep, dark secrets of my mental health issues when it comes to, suicidal thoughts, substance abuse, self-mutilation, all that stuff that comes along with severe mental health issues and post-concussion syndrome, it allows that person to feel a little bit more comfortable in their skin, and then open up to you. And really, once they open up, then they feel more of that therapeutic feeling when it comes to talk therapy in a way. And it allows people to relate to other people in a way that they can't with maybe their family members or their friends who are their main support in their lives, but have never experienced a concussion. So I really try to use and utilize my experiences with the mental health side of things from my post-concussion experiences to help people feel comfortable and share their experiences as well.
Wow, that's great. And I think of the CESAPchats is a great idea. And you're hoping to do this every month, or these chats with anybody who wants to. Actually, I'll get you guys now to either one of you just tell people who are in Kingston, Ontario area especially, how they can find you guys, or how anybody can find your website or Facebook page, and how they can find you physically on these monthly meetings. So I'm not sure who wants to tackle that, but you can name any Facebook, any Twitter, Facebook, Instagram page, whatever you have. So, but I don't know who wants to tackle that thing, but
sure, yeah. So, folks who are interested in learning more about our support group, the best way to get in touch with us would be to find us on Facebook by searching CESAPchats, or contacting us by email. It's CESAPchats@gmail.com.
Sorry, and CESAP is CESAP.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, Lauren, go ahead.
No, we'll be aiming to meet the last Monday of each month. Right now we're meeting from 8 to 9 p.m. At the moment, we're sort of setting an hour for people to come and just talk about what they're going through and share any stories or rehabilitation advice, anything like that. And then as we continue to grow, our aim is to have maybe 45 minutes for that, and then a second 45 minutes where we'll invite in a guest speaker, like someone in the medical or healthcare community who has expertise in concussion recovery, to share some information with the group.
That's
that
great.
would be the structure moving forward.
Nice. And how can they find you online? Or are you online much other than just Facebook? It's a Facebook page?
Yeah, Facebook and email.
Email, okay. And so next one will be February 25th. That'll be your last one. Your next one.
Yeah, that's
and that's so. Where is that exactly? Do you know yet?
So all of our information, if people want to find out where we're going to be, or how long it's going to be, what time it's going to be, who the guest speaker might be, just go ahead and give us a follow on Facebook. So again, that's CESAPs, that's CESAP chats. So CESAP chats on Facebook. And every month we'll be putting out a flyer that has the time and location of where we'll be meeting, and obviously the date, and then any extra details that might be needed for the person to know, whether that's a guest speaker or variations on the type of meetings. For example, eventually we want to bring in the people who come into the meetings, but also for them to bring in their main source of support, just to kind of have that conversation as well, to help support those people in their efforts to support that person with the post-concussion syndrome.
Great. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for joining me on this podcast, and hopefully people will check out your Facebook page, as you said, CESAP Chats on Facebook. Yep. So CESAP Chats on Facebook, and hopefully we'll have some more podcasts to tell you about this stuff. So thank you very much. Thank you very much to Lauren and Jesse.
Thanks for having us.
I didn't realize how much it sounded like I was yelling in that, but I assure you I wasn't. But thanks for putting up with that, and thank you again to Lauren and Jesse, and hopefully talk to them again soon. As always, music at the beginning of this podcast is by Ben Sound. www.bensound.com.